So we're going to get started with sharing and exporting stories by first sharing those stories with other users. So I'm going to pull up one of the executive summaries and show you from that end of things. There's a few different ways that you can share and export. And one is from the actual data set itself. You can click share and export, and the options are to share with an available user, or you can export. And on this one, it's just PowerPoint or Word. There's other data sets that have the ability to export to R code and even into Salesforce, and we'll be getting into that later on in this section. But what I wanted to show you is the few different ways that you can share with other users. Now, this isn't the greatest demo because I'm in a free Salesforce Einstein Discovery org with just one user, so I can't search for and find other users to share with. And so if you have an enterprise license with multiple users, then you could search for them and share with them through this search screen. You'd enter in their name, select them, and click Apply Changes, and it would share the story with them in their own Einstein Discovery account. So that's really it as far as how it works for sharing with other users. And then in the next lectures, we'll be getting into the export options here. But one thing I wanted to mention, since this is a relatively short lecture, and to add on to this a little bit with some further insight or background, is there is this Einstein Discovery User Guide available online. It's a PDF, and so you can just Google for that. Just search for Einstein Data Discovery User Guide, and you should be able to pull that up. I'll also link to that in the resources section of this particular lecture. I was referencing this hoping that there would be a screen with some data in it to show for sharing with other users. They've not bothered to do that, unfortunately, but I did want to make you aware of this document that will take you through and reinforce a lot of what you're learning in this course, make you aware of that as far as a guide. There's also a setup guide for Einstein Discovery if you're tasked with setting up Einstein Discovery in your own Salesforce organization as like an administrator or developer. But then also I wanted to point out some of the data discovery limits that I found in this particular document. We've talked a little bit about the limits of Einstein Discovery, and so I did run across the maximum number of rows for all registered data sets combined is 1 billion. So your Einstein Data Discovery account is limited to 1 billion rows for all data sets combined in your Salesforce Einstein Discovery instance. Now, they may have limited this more in the free account that they're giving you. I'm sure they're not giving you 1 billion rows of availability for free, or maybe they will, but then once you start blowing through a few 100 million rows, they might lock that down and want you to pay. I don't know at what point they will be alerted to your data analysis usage and how much they'll allow for free. And then as well, the maximum number of columns per data set in the paid version is 200. We ran across in the free version that was down to 12. And then the maximum number of input columns in a story is 100. And then there's developer edition limits. And so here's actually what we have, this free developer edition limit of Einstein Discovery. There's the 12 columns I was referring to. And so this answers my question as I speak. Maximum number of data rows is 50,000. And so we can't go beyond that apparently in our free account. And so this is a really good guide, and it's helpful for dealing with some of the limits of Einstein Discovery, but also gives you more feedback and input. If you have a background of data analysis and data science, this particular document goes into some of the other metrics and things and considerations in using Einstein Discovery. Also, there's this good section here on data preparation for predictive analytics, and it gives you a lot of background on analytics and just prediction models that Einstein Discovery uses. I did mention previously I'd go more into detail on that, and so I do encourage you to look into this particular guide and these sections to understand more of the behind-the-scenes functionality of Einstein Discovery and how it handles some of the predictive metrics that it does. And then as well, you can select outcome metrics, etc. And so this is a really helpful guide with a lot of information and some of the more, large terms like high cardinality fields and ordinal variables, skew, etc. So for those of you that are more experienced with data analysis and data science, you'll appreciate this. And those that are newer, it'll start giving you a background on some of this information. And here's the k-fold validations. For example, this cross-validation Einstein Data Discovery has an optional k-fold cross-validation feature. And so it has these K1 subsets that it mentions. So all good reading, and kind of gets a little more complex than what's readily available to the end user if you want to go deeper. So with that said, let's get back into the sharing of these stories with other users and round this out in that you just perform a search, select, and apply. And then in the upcoming lectures to finish out this section, we're going to then be exporting to PowerPoint, Word, and even R code. So stay tuned.